Breaking news from the National Hurricane Center. Right now, Hurricane Nate already packing 90-mile-an-hour winds, expected to strengthen and become a Category 2 storm before it makes landfall. We're bringing you team coverage from across the Gulf Coast right now.
From the beaches of Dauphin Island and the Baldwin EMA in Robertsdale to the Causeway and Mobile. But first, let's check in with meteorologist Kelly Foster for the very latest on the growing and strengthening Hurricane Nate.
That's right, Andrea, and we're going to be on the worst side of it. Here's a look at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Notice we are going to see Nate continue to get its act together as a Cat 2 Saturday. This is today at 7 p.m. beginning to approach the Chandelier Islands and then moving very close towards Goshen, Mississippi. This is right at midnight as a Cat 1 hurricane, which puts Mobile on the worst side of it, the eastern side. East is beast. We get the worst of the storm surge, the strong winds, and on this front right quadrant, also the potential for tornadoes to spin up. It's going to be a very fast mover, though. That is the silver lining. So with it moving so quickly, it will not allow it time to strengthen at this point much past a Category 2. Once it moves into Cat 3, that would be a major hurricane. We're not expecting that for now. We do have a storm surge warning. This is because storm surge is going to be at about 5 to 9 feet above ground level out in Mobile Bay and the Alabama Barrier Islands. We could even see that storm surge grow up to 10 feet. So here's a look right now at Nate, really continuing to strengthen. Hurricane hunters have been flying in here, very lopsided storm, the worst of it on the eastern flank. And again, this continues to barrel towards our slice of the Gulf Coast. We're talking only about 35 to 40 miles from Mobile is where it is expected to strike as we head towards midnight tonight. So it is getting much closer, moving at a very fast clip towards the northwest at 26. And with this forward speed right now, max sustained winds are at 90, moving into some warmer waters that is going to strengthen this to a Cat 2. We're going to see it cruise across the swamps of Louisiana, wreak havoc there, and then make landfall as a hurricane right next door in Jackson County, Mississippi. That is a look at the models for now. It is not set in stone. As we all know, with these systems, they can wobble. But again, this is going to be a very fast mover. By Sunday afternoon, we are done with it as we head into early next week. It's going to be moving off the northeastern seaboard. We are going to have some significant rain. We're talking up to 4 to 8 inches. The worst of the rain is going to be west of I-65. And here's the pinpoint predictor. Notice as we head towards 5 o'clock, those feeder bands beginning to spiral into our coastline. We see the eye right now crossing over the Chandelier Islands. This is at 10 o'clock and then potentially making a landfall near Jackson County in between midnight and 1 a.m. So again, this is moving much faster. Hurricane warning in place for Mobile and Baldwin County. We've got wind gusts up to 21 Fairhope, 30 for Gulf Shores, and the wave heights are getting higher. I'm going to have a more in-depth look at your pinpoint predictor with Hurricane Nate a little bit later in the show.
Kelly, thank you. We are getting a new look at the damage ahead of Nate. This photo from the Dauphin Island Fire Rescue Department showing overwash at the end of Bienville Boulevard.
And that was early this morning. These pictures you're seeing from Stephanie Nelson of the Dauphin Island Marina. This is already happening early this morning before daylight, so residents continuing to be urged to be careful there as well.
And we are continuing to track the tropics right now. Nate will certainly impact Dauphin Island, as we've already seen. We have watched conditions change throughout our coverage this morning.
So we're going to do that right now. We're going to go back out to Zora Asbury. She's been on Dauphin Island since before daylight this morning. Zora, those waves continue to get larger and we continue to see more erosion down the west end.
That's right, Darwin. I am here on the west end of Dauphin Island and the wind already picking up. It's already started to knock me off balance. Now take a look behind me. This is where the erosion is happening here on the west end. What you're looking at used to actually be sand and a beach access to a parking lot where they used to have concerts and movies, but that is not there anymore. All you see is some water, flood water from the Gulf Coast. Now it's starting to surge over here over this concrete barrier. And so we are seeing lots of water here, but we're also worried about the homes here on the west end of Dauphin Island. You can see that there is water starting to kind of climb over that little barrier there. And so this home and a lot of these homes here in Dauphin Island are in potential danger. We've seen lots of residents packing up their belongings, their jet skis, their boats, and boarding up those windows to make sure that their homes and their belongings stay safe from Hurricane Nate. As we've heard, it will be a Category 1 and possible Category 2 hurricane. So we're going to continue to follow this out here in Dauphin Island. For now, Zora Asbury reporting, NBC 15 News.
All right, thank you, Zora. Right now we have the mayor of Dauphin Island on the phone with us.
Yeah, Mayor Jeff Collier, there have been some reports that possibly the Dauphin Island Bridge may be closing. Can you clarify what's going on there?
Yeah, and thank you. And the simple answer is that no, there's no planned closure for the bridge. I spoke earlier with ALDOT officials to reconfirm what I already knew, and the simple thing is that if anything gets closed, it will be done by the hurricane, not by ALDOT. And honestly, the part that's actually most vulnerable is the causeway leading up to the bridge, more so than the bridge itself. So we're going to be monitoring that. Our police will be out there probably every hour throughout the night. We will reach out to ALDOT if something happens, but otherwise it's kind of a wait and see.
All right, May, another concern always on the island is power. It's going to be a concern for all of us. There has also been some sort of speculation that power might be cut to the island, but we're beginning to find out that is not true as well.
That is correct. I spoke again with power company officials just about an hour ago, and they're basically taking the same approach as ALDOT. They do not plan to have any controlled outages. Again, if power goes out on the island, it's going to be because of the storm conditions, not by Alabama Power themselves. So I appreciate you letting us get that clarification out there so everybody is on the same page.
All right, Mayor, we certainly appreciate it, and we will be checking in with you throughout this storm, and we hope you fare well down on the island.
Thank you.
All right. More breaking news that could affect your storm preparation efforts. Several grocery stores and public places are closing early because of Nate.
NBC 15's Megan Gannon is live now. And Megan, we are hearing the mall, Publix, and Walmarts will be closing early.
That is right, Andrea and Darwin. I'm out here on the Publix on Hillcrest and Cottage Hill Road. This is one of the Publixes that is going to be closing at 5 p.m. today. And you can see the parking lot is completely packed with people. Since we've been out here, we have seen countless people coming and going with their shopping carts full of food and the supplies that they are going to need to sort of ride out Hurricane Nate for those who are staying here in Mobile. Like you said, several closures that are going to be taking place just in a couple of hours ahead of Hurricane Nate so that these stores, all of their employees can head home before this storm comes. Again, most Walmart stores along the Alabama Gulf Coast will close at 6 p.m. tonight. Many plan to reopen tomorrow if the conditions allow. Public stores in Mobile and Baldwin counties will be closing at 5 p.m. today. And again, they plan to open tomorrow if conditions allow as well. The shops at Bel Air Mall will close at 3 p.m. today. However, some stores inside of that mall have already closed early before the whole mall closure at 3 because they wanted all their employees to get home. But again, all these closures, it's all on our website at mynbc15.com. Head over there if you want to know what else is closed as well. Reporting in Mobile, Megan Gannon, NBC 15 News.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Today, the Mobile Regional Airport is closing early for Hurricane Nate. They'll close their doors at 4 and reopen tomorrow at noon. All flights until closing time will remain on schedule.
And the Pensacola International Airport set to close at 6 p.m. today. They were originally planning to close tonight at 8, but they decided to close a few hours earlier because the storm is speeding up. They will reopen on Monday. Also, the Wave Transit System in Mobile announced it's suspending all bus services starting today at 3 o'clock. Many churches are canceling Sunday morning services. Find the full list of closures on our website, mynbc15.com. And if you have a closure that you would like us to announce, email us at news@mynbc15.com. Well, I'm sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
So, several restaurants are preparing right now in the event of flooding on the causeway.
NBC 15's Nicole Fierro has been on the causeway all morning long. She saw the tunnel close earlier. Now she's at Cafe Del Rio, Blue Gill. They've already begun moving their supplies and equipment this morning.
That's right, Darwin. I'm here with the manager, Chris Vasquez, who says that they, it's a beautiful view right now, but they want to play it safe. So what have you been doing this morning?
Well, since early this morning, the crew's been out here. We're moving everything from the first floor up to the second floor. Just getting ready for the surge that should be coming in.
Here you've been moving some heavy things.
We've been moving pianos, we've been moving pool tables, shuffleboards, and some very heavy furniture. Ice boxes, coolers, beer coolers, all the above is going up. Anything electrical.
Wow, have you been here for any other hurricanes? Have you seen this water rise?
Last one I was here was for Cindy. It wasn't quite as bad, but we did get flooded. We did get shelter for one day, but it wasn't as bad as the surge they say that's coming in now.
Well, they, like many other restaurants and places along the causeway, are just preparing to be safe, and we'll continue to keep you posted as more developments come from the causeway. But for now, reporting live, Nicole Fierro, NBC 15 News.
Nicole, thank you so much. The Baldwin County EMA just met with the National Weather Service so that officials can find out the latest track of the storm.
NBC 15's James Gordon is in Robertsdale right now. James, you have some new developments from that meeting.
You know, based on the newest forecast of the National Weather Service, a lot of decisions have come out of the Baldwin County Commission here at the Emergency Management Agency in Robertsdale. Commissioner Chris Elliott, you all have decided to go ahead and open a shelter as of 1 p.m. this afternoon. That's the Robertsdale Coliseum. Am I correct?
That's correct, James. The Commission just concluded its 11:30 special emergency meeting at which we declared a local state of emergency and went further to open the shelter of last resort there at the Baldwin County Coliseum effective at 1 p.m. today.
And right now, those they're getting ready. They're preparing the Coliseum for anyone who may need shelter this evening.
That's correct. Those folks that are heeding the voluntary evacuations on the island that have been placed by Gulf Shores and Orange Beach and recommended by the Commission are welcome to go there if they have not already found shelter somewhere else. So that shelter will be available for them. We wanted to make sure that we allowed the timing for folks to get out of the way earlier on to take other opportunities prior to opening the shelter, and that's what we've done here.
And down in Gulf Shores, they have a voluntary, actually a mandatory curfew, but we're expecting a voluntary, or at least you're requesting a voluntary curfew for Baldwin County, right, Sheriff?
That's correct. Once again, after looking at the weather models and everything, what we're asking all the residents of all of Baldwin County is to tonight, between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning, to restrict your movement on our roads to emergency traffic only. Go ahead and shelter in place tonight, and those times run consistent with the Orange Beach and Gulf Shores mandatory curfew.
All right, thank you very much, Sheriff Hosmack and Commissioner Chris Elliott. Again, a lot of actions have been taken in the south part of the county, especially on our beaches, and now because of the new forecast, some of those things are spilling over into the other parts of the county, so they want to make sure that everybody is safe tonight and tomorrow morning is when Nate makes landfall, or at least has an effect on our part of the Gulf Coast. For now, we're live in Robertsdale. James Gordon, NBC 15 News.
James, thank you so much. We will continue tracking Hurricane Nate after the break. Stay with us.
NBC 15 weather with meteorologist Kelly Foster.
Good Saturday afternoon, everybody. Things are really getting serious in our backyard. We're looking at a Category 1 hurricane. Already swells from this storm sitting right now about 250 miles from Mobile. We're beginning to see these impacts. We are going to have some minor beach erosion, possibly even some major storm surge coming into our area. In fact, that looks to be a strong possibility there. Winneseagle, I think everybody's trying to get out of town before Nate moves in, and we're just several hours out. We're going to see Nate come in around midnight. So make sure that if you have any loose items around your home, you have hurricane preparations to make, go ahead and do it now. Don't wait until the last minute. Right now, Nate continues to move at a faster pace. We are expecting him to grow to a Category 2 hurricane as he approaches the Gulf Coast. Right now, he is moving towards the north-northwest at about 26 miles per hour. So beginning to move a little bit closer than previously thought. So max sustained winds are at 90, expected to become a Category 2 near the Chandelier Islands in Louisiana, and then possibly make landfall in Jackson County near Goshen, Mississippi. Now keep in mind, hurricane force winds extend out from the center of Nate about 35 miles, and that's exactly how far we are from Pascagoula to Mobile, Goshen, about 40 miles, which means that we're definitely going to have some hurricane force winds if this makes landfall where we expect it to. Tropical storm force winds extend out about 125 miles. So we know a lot of water is going to continue to get rushed onto our shoreline. This is going to be a fast mover though, so it's not going to have a whole lot of time to really continue to push that water inland. But we do have a storm surge warning in place. This does include our entire shoreline, and Mobile Bay could be looking at a storm surge in areas up to about 10 feet. Rain totals averaging 4 to 8. The heaviest of the rain is going to be west of I-65. Here's the pinpoint predictor, and you can see those feeder bands spiraling in as early as 5 o'clock. There's a look at the eye moving over the Chandelier Islands. That's at 10 o'clock. And then it looks like we could see the eye begin to move over Jackson County, Mississippi in between midnight and 1. And that's when Mobile and Baldwin County will be in that front right quadrant with that potential for tornadoes. Also, those damaging winds associated with the hurricane, and then it's going to just move on out of here at lightning speed. Storm surge warning. This is in effect for our coastline. We're talking 5 to 9 feet above ground level for Mobile and Baldwin County, about 3 to 5 across the Panhandle, isolated areas up to 6 feet. So again, with that landfall, we're going to be on the worst side. East is beast with all that water moving in. And then, of course, if you live in low-lying areas, be thinking about that. Make sure you have things off the ground. Water temperature is very warm. Again, we are expecting this to reach a Category 2 hurricane as it approaches the Gulf Coast. So we have a hurricane warning, Mobile and Baldwin, hurricane watch for the Panhandle. We've talked about that storm surge and the rain, and we can't forget about flash flooding. We're going to have a lot of feeder bands continuing to drop rain over the same areas. We do have some choppy waters, and they're going to be turning rough and dangerous. There's your 7-day. We're going to be done with Nate by tomorrow, averaging around lunchtime.
We are continuing to track the tropics at this hour, and we have teams keeping an eye on the storm from all angles.
Yeah, the National Hurricane Center is also tracking this fast-moving storm and has insight about its developments.
Right now, we are joined by Dr. Michael Brennan. He is a senior hurricane specialist with the National Hurricane Center in Miami.
Good afternoon, Dr. Brennan. Thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, we've talked a lot about how Nate has really sped up. Could you give us maybe a breakdown of when Mobile County specifically would really start to feel the brunt of Nate?
Sure, yeah, you're right. Nate is moving very, very quickly off to the north-northwest now at about 26 miles an hour. So it's going to rapidly approach the northern Gulf Coast as we go through this afternoon and this evening and into tonight. So for the Mobile area, it looks like the closest point of approach would be sometime late this evening or very early Sunday morning. But conditions are going to start to deteriorate now. We can actually see in the radar, you're starting to see some of these outer rain bands make their way towards the central Gulf Coast. So winds and rain are going to continue to increase, along with the storm surge is starting to increase along the Gulf Coast as well already.
Well, as this storm ramps up, why do you think it's getting so intense? Because it's predicted to be a 2, then possibly a 1 as it slams the land. What happened in the last 6 hours that changed everything?
Well, you know, the storm has been moving over very warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico. The vertical wind shear, the amount of change of wind direction and speed with height has been pretty low. So the system's taken advantage of those favorable conditions and been able to increase. We've sort of seen this steady strengthening all the way from yesterday, and actually rapid strengthening if you look over the entire 24-hour period. And we're continuing to see that pressure slowly fall, the winds slowly increase throughout the day, and we are expecting it to reach Category 2 intensity before it makes landfall.
Do you anticipate that it will, as it hits like the Alabama Gulf Coast, that it would be a Category 2 just based on the weather data that you're seeing there? Do you feel that it would be a Category 1 storm once it hits the Mississippi, Alabama Gulf Coast?
It's hard to say exactly what the intensity will be. The main point to make to your viewers is that the impacts are coming, the storm surge, the wind, the heavy rainfall. I really want to emphasize that storm surge warning, in particular for Mobile Bay. We can see 6 to 9 feet of storm surge flooding above ground level in these dark purple areas, and that's a very dangerous, life-threatening storm surge that's going to be happening as we go through the evening and overnight tonight.
All right, you even had several people in the studio when you said 9-foot storm surge gasp a little bit. Yeah. So that's something we're going to have to really watch closely. And if you did nothing else, you caught our attention with that, sir. All right, thank you so much.
Yes,
and
that's the hazard that kills the most people.
And you're absolutely right. We may be checking in with you a little bit later then. Thank you, sir, and we wish you luck as you continue to track the storm as well. Here's a look at our radar right now as we go to the break. We'll be back with more coverage as we continue covering the tropics right here. Starting to see some, there we go. And that's what we thought we should be seeing. And you can see the storm clouds getting close to the coast.
We're dealing with larger swells at the beach right now. The waves are getting bigger and storm surge is going to be a big, dangerous problem for us as Nate continues to spiral his way towards our slice of the Gulf Coast. So make sure if you live in a low-lying area, you be thinking about where you'll go to higher ground, and you do not want to drive once Nate begins to approach our area. Right now we have winds gusting up to 22 miles per hour for Mobile, 32 for Gulf Shore. So our winds are picking up. All of this is because of Nate. We've got an easterly flow for now because it's south of us. Once it begins to move in, we're going to have that strong southerly wind flow. Right now, it's about 250 miles from Mobile, and it's moving towards the north-northwest at about 22 miles per hour. Notice it's going to become a Category 2 by the Chandelier Islands and then possibly make landfall right next door in Jackson County, Mississippi as a Cat 1. We're not ruling out a Cat 2. So the worst of the weather moving into our area around 1 a.m. We'll be back.
All right. Thanks so much, Kelly. We have a couple road closures that we want to get in just really quick. The bridge, the W.C. Holmes Bridge in Gulf Shores will be closing. That's on Highway 59 when wind speeds reach 45 miles per hour.
Also, the Baldwin Beach Expressway going into Orange Beach there, that will be closing as well at, was it 8 tonight?
8 o'clock tonight.
8 o'clock tonight. So those are two routes in and out of Orange Beach and Gulf Shores that will be closing. We'll keep repeating those so you can tell your friends. Two important things. We'll be right back with our coverage in a moment. Breaking news, Hurricane Nate packing a punch and continuing to grow stronger, already packing 90-mile-per-hour winds, and now the storm expected to become a Category 2 before making landfall right here on our Gulf Coast.
And after watching Nate wreak havoc in Central America, local officials are urging locals to prepare for a more devastating hit.
It's a special edition of NBC 15 News at noon. I'm Darwin Singleton.
And I'm Andrea Ramey. Thank you so much for joining us. NBC 15 reporters are on standby across the Gulf Coast from Dauphin Island and Mobile, east to Spanish Fort and Robertsdale.
They're monitoring conditions as Nate moves north and quickly. All right, we are also talking with some of our folks right here and the Weather Center, from the Weather Center. Jessica Townsend is backing up Kelly Foster, who's doing a great job keeping up with this fast-moving storm.
All right, and Jessica, we've been talking so much about the coastal impacts, but people inland are going to be feeling these tropical storm effects in our viewing area.
That's right, tropical storm warning in effect for Montgomery, Birmingham, and Tuscaloosa. So we're going to be feeling these effects very far inland in Alabama. Gusty winds, heavy rains. They need to watch out too.
All right, so that means if you live in Monroe, Conecuh, Clark County, all the counties north of here, you are going to experience some of this. And Kelly, we're looking at video from Honduras and Nicaragua. This was a big rain event for them, but we're going to be getting both wind and rain.
We sure are, Darwin. You know, we have a hurricane warning in effect. This ramping up to a Cat 2 as it approaches the Gulf Coast. So we've got very warm conditions in our backyard. Gulf of Mexico water temperature in the mid to upper 80s, and that's going to give us some fuel. And although it's moving at a fast clip, it's still going to strengthen. Here's a live look at our beach cam, and you can see right now large swells, dangerous surf right now, double red flags. No swimming allowed. Storm surge is going to be a very big threat with this. We have the potential for storm surge as high as 10 feet above ground level as we head on into the nighttime hours, and that's for Mobile and Baldwin County, and across the Panhandle 3 to 5 feet. We could even have a storm surge up to about 6 feet across the Panhandle. And then as we see Nate begin to work its way inland and strike the Gulf Coast, the northeast quadrant of Nate and the eastern side is going to pose a tornadic threat for us. We could see some strong supercell tornadoes develop. So we want you to make sure that you have your guard up, any loose items around your home. We want you to make sure that you are very careful. And again, you do not want to be in a car during Nate with this storm surge threat, really anytime there's a hurricane. So again, a storm surge out in Mobile Bay and our Alabama barrier islands up to 10 feet possible. Again, we are expecting a landfall just to our west right now. A lot of the models with that cone have near Goshen, Mississippi being the center, which would put us about 35 miles away. So a lot of water is going to get pounded onto our shoreline, and again, continuing to just batter our area all the way through early tomorrow morning. So moving north-northwest at 26, about 250 miles from Mobile right now. Expected to move across the Chandelier Islands of Louisiana around 10 o'clock tonight, and then around midnight moving in towards Jackson County, Mississippi. Again, none of this set in stone, lots of time for change. We know that they can change their mind at the last minute, but moving into the county right next door to Mobile. So we are going to have tropical storm force winds coming in later today, and then hurricane force winds coming in tonight. Here's a look at your pinpoint predictor at 1 o'clock. Notice the feeder band spiraling into our shoreline. We see that eye moving across the swampy parishes of Louisiana through the Chandeliers, and then with that tornado threat for our area around 10 o'clock tonight, and then that eye moving in around midnight. And again, the worst of the weather impacting Mobile and Baldwin around 1 a.m. Thankfully, we are going to have this race out of here. We'll have a nice improvement Sunday afternoon, but we're really going to be under the gun. Unfortunately, this looks to be moving in while many of you will be sleeping. So make sure tonight you have the channel right here on NBC 15. Rain totals averaging 4 to 8 inches. The worst of the rain is going to be west of I-65. Water temperatures very warm, conducive for further development. And a closer look shows these waves of rain and storms moving in. But around 1 o'clock this morning to 1:30 is when we're going to see all of this transition from Mobile County, work across our inland zones, and it looks like we're going to be under this tornado threat until about 5 a.m. Sunday morning, until that eye begins to pull out of our region. I'll have a more in-depth look at your 7-day forecasts coming up.
And real quickly, Andrea, we have our listeners on WNTM Radio 710 listening to us right now, and we just wanted to welcome you aboard as we continue our coverage of Hurricane Nate. And
Hurricane Nate is already impacting Dauphin Island. NBC 15's Zora Asbury joins us now live. And Zora, you were on Dauphin Island starting yesterday morning, but now conditions really drastically different.
Andrea, Darwin, that's right. The wind has picked up significantly. I'm here on the west end of Dauphin Island, and as you can see behind me, this is where the West End Public Beach access was, and they used to hold concerts here. They used to hold movies here, but this area used to be a parking lot. Now it's completely covered in floodwater. We're pretty much almost, I mean, it looks like the Gulf right behind me here. There's no sand. There's no public beach access where it used to be, and you can start to see some of this road out here also starting to erode, and some of these waves are starting to crash over here, over where this road used to be. And these homes here on the west end, people have started boarding their homes, but homes as close to the water as this one is are going to see some significant damage. There's no doubt about it. We've heard about, 9-foot storm surge, and lots of flood water are going to be here in the area here in West Dauphin Island, and so we're going to continue to monitor this. Now, people have been coming up to this area as if it's a tourist attraction, trying to see what's going on here on the west end of Dauphin Island, and they remember what it looked like before with the parking lot and sand and the public beach access, and it looks nothing like that right now. And Tropical Storm Nate hasn't even made it to the Gulf Coast just yet, so you can only imagine what it's going to look like as we head into tonight and early tomorrow, and we're going to bring you wall-to-wall coverage while we're out here on Dauphin Island. Reporting, Zora Asbury, NBC 15 News.
Zora, thank you. And new this hour, grocery stores, restaurants, and city services are all starting to close.
NBC 15's Megan Gannon is live at Publix in Mobile, one of the Publix stores, another one closing ahead of Hurricane Nate, and this is going to affect our storm preps. Megan?
That's right, Darwin. Definitely going to affect everybody's storm preps, as right now the time is ticking for you to come out and get the supplies that you need if you have not already done so. We're at the Publix right here on Cottage Hill and Hillcrest, right here at the Hillwood Plaza, and you can see this parking lot is completely packed with people. Some people circling the parking lot trying to find parking places in front of the Publix to be able to go in and get the supplies that they need. It's not only Publix and other stores that are preparing. The Publix is closing today at 5. Other Publixes in Baldwin County and Mobile County closing today at 5. Walmarts in the area are going to be closing at 6 p.m. tonight as well. And the mall has already started to close. It is closing at 3, and some stores have already closed inside the mall as well. I do want to show you something real quick. Compass Bank over here right next to the Publix, they've already started putting up some boards on their windows in preparation for Nate. So people are taking this very seriously out here. And again, your time is ticking to get the supplies that you need as Publix and other stores are set to close in the matter of hours. Reporting in Mobile, Megan Gannon, NBC 15 News.
All right, we invite you to stay with us. Our coverage on Hurricane Nate continues in less than 2 minutes. Right now, Beulah Battery is under voluntary evacuations, and this includes low-lying areas, flood-prone areas, and also mobile homes.
Joining us on the phone right now is the mayor of Beulah Battery, Terry Downey. Mayor, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I'm wondering, are you concerned that people who really should evacuate simply are not evacuating? We're talking about storm surge that could be 5 to 9 feet.
Well, we're putting the word out. It's voluntary, but we also making sure that they know. We've had one that came forward, making sure that they know where the shelters are. And we staff meeting this morning. We're a small city. We've got a great staff of police officers. We're putting on more policemen and more firemen to be on the street tonight. And we're not asking for a curfew. We have a lot of business people that have to get down and check their boats and check their business. So we kind of stayed away from the curfew business. These guys will have to check their vessels during bad times. So we just ask that everyone else would, like you guys did, would stay inside and give this storm a chance to pass. And we're addressing the surge. We're looking at it, and we've got our guys out, cleaning the ditches. And we got Facebook and Twitter for the Beulah Battery webpage. And if they feel unsafe, they need to go to one of the shelters, which we're encouraging to do that. If they're in an area that they don't feel like they'd be safe, and I'm working with the EMA out on Schillinger and McGregor. So we're going to have one of our guys out there too to be in direct contact. And so that's the way we're going into it this afternoon.
All right, Mayor. Well, we thank you so much, and we understand the closest shelter to you is Theodore High School, so we will encourage people that need to leave that might be one of the quickest places to go. Thank you, Mayor, and good luck. We'll be checking in with you later as the storm progresses.
All right, we've been talking about the hurricane warnings in place for Mobile, Baldwin County, points west, the storm surge warning in effect as well. But we also have a tornado threat, and we want you to make sure that you have an area, if you're staying home, that is in the interior portion of your home away from windows, should your area fall under a tornado warning, because we are expecting some tornadoes to begin to move in along with Hurricane Nate later tonight and early Sunday morning. We'll talk about that hour-by-hour forecast. I'll walk you right through it right after the break. Stay with us.
New right now, 4 shelters are open in Mobile County. Officials are encouraging anyone in low-lying coastal areas to head to a shelter if they feel unsafe. The shelters are at Collins Roads Elementary, Theodore High School, North Mobile Middle, and Burns Middle. The shelter at Burns will be for people with medical and special needs. It is designed for people with Alzheimer's or people dependent on life support, oxygen, or chemotherapy. Over in Baldwin County, officials have announced the Baldwin County Coliseum will open its doors for an emergency shelter.
And we have a couple of road closures to tell you about, especially if you live in Orange Beach or Gulf Shores. This is going to impact you dramatically. The Baldwin Beach Expressway toll bridge at Orange Beach, right there at the wharf, they're going to be closing that at 8 o'clock tonight. Your other route in and out of town is the W.C. Holmes Bridge on Highway 59. That bridge will also close, but it will be determined by the wind. When the wind reaches 45 miles per hour, that bridge into Gulf Shores will be closed. So those are your ways in and out of Pleasure Island. You need to know that. We're continuing to update any shelter information and road closures on our website as well, mynbc15.com. As Hurricane Nate draws closer to the coast, you need to finish your preparations quickly.
Yeah, restaurants on the Causeway and Spanish Fort are doing just that to mitigate any flood damage.
Our team coverage now takes us to Nicole Fierro. She is on the Causeway right now, and I believe she's at Del Rio's restaurant, which has a bottom floor that floods.
Yeah, no, Nicole, what are restaurants doing right now to prepare?
Absolutely.
Well, Andrea and Darwin, you see this entire bottom floor. Just hours ago, it was filled with chairs, tables, even 2 grand pianos. All of it, as you can see, it's gone. Employees are moving everything upstairs. They say that they are expecting, hopefully, that it's not too bad, but they're bracing for the worst and they don't want to take chances. In fact, they're open for lunch right now, but they say that they're going to close later on today so that their employees can get home and be safe for when the storm hits. It's all about safety here on the Causeway. That's what the employees are telling me, and they've seen other storms here before. The water's right outside the window, so they are just trying to take precaution right now, as many of you should be doing at home. We're continuing to monitor the situation here. It is certainly getting a lot more muggy and humid as the hours go on along the Causeway. Just being outside for seconds, you're really just drenched in moments, so you can definitely see a difference in temperature, and the wind is starting to pick up here and there, but we'll continue to give you the latest as conditions change. But for now, live from Cafe Del Rio, Nicole Fierro, NBC 15 News.
NBC 15 weather with meteorologist Kelly Foster.
It's been a busy morning. As you can see, we have seen a major change at the beach this morning. It was nice and peaceful, but as Nate continues to barrel towards our slice of the Gulf Coast, big swells are occurring out in the Gulf of Mexico. The waves have gotten higher, and we're seeing more white foam there right at the water's edge. And so we're going to continue to watch the seas and the surf build as the day progresses. The winds have definitely picked up speed. We still have an easterly wind component, but instead of about 5 to 10 miles per hour as it was this morning, it's now up to 22 in Mobile, 32 for the Gulf Shores area, 26 for Pensacola, and we are expecting tropical storm force winds as we head towards late this afternoon. Nate, right now about 195 miles south of Biloxi, Mississippi, or about 250 from Mobile. It is continuing to race towards the Gulf Coast. It's moving at a very fast clip towards the north-northwest at about 26 miles per hour. It's a lopsided storm, the worst of it on the eastern side. We have a hurricane warning in place for Mobile and Baldwin County, a hurricane watch for the Florida Panhandle, a storm surge warning for our coastline. Now for Mobile and Baldwin County, the storm surge above ground level at about 5 to 9 feet. Isolated areas along the bay and the Alabama barrier islands up to 10 feet. And then across the Florida Panhandle, storm surge of 3 to 5 feet. Isolated areas up to 6 feet. And then a tornado threat east of the center. Rain. Isolated areas could pick up about 8 inches of rain. Here's a look at that storm surge warning. And again, we unfortunately lose major life unnecessarily due to storm surge, so it's not the time to be out in it. And here's a look. We are expecting Nate to make landfall right next door in Jackson County, so we're on the worst side. We're on the right side of the storm. As always, east is beast. A lot of water is going to get pushed along our shoreline. If you live in a low-lying area, get things off the floor and seek higher ground for sure. All right, it's moving north-northwest at 25, set to reach Cat 2 status as it rakes across the Chandelier Islands, going to make landfall around midnight right next door in Jackson County, Mississippi. Keep in mind, hurricane force winds extend out from the center about 35 miles. Tropical storm force winds 125, so that's extremely close to home, really about 35 miles from Mobile. This is not set in stone, though. It can change, it can wobble, but again, we are expecting this to move very close to our area. The silver lining, it's going to be a fast mover. It's not sticking around for long, so we will see a nice improvement as we head through Sunday afternoon. Here's your pinpoint predictor. Already the rain bands are moving into southwest Louisiana, moving into our area later this afternoon. That tornado threat coming in tonight, and there's the eye moving in around midnight. That tornado threat lasting for our area until about 5 a.m. this morning. We'll be back.
Hurricane Nate now expected to strengthen to a Category 2 hurricane before battering the Gulf Coast. And we have some new information we want to bring you if you live in Gulf Shores. Very important, Andrea.
Yeah, Mayor Robert Kraft just in the last 20 minutes or so has issued an evacuation order issued for West Beaches in Gulf Shores. This includes all properties along West Beach Boulevard located west of Little Lagoon Pass and West Beach area between 8th Street and Little Lagoon Pass. We also also should note that the W.C. Holmes Bridge on Highway 59, your main way to get in and out, will be closed once winds reach 45 miles per hour, and that is expected to happen at 7 o'clock tonight.
So your options are getting very slim, and if you have to leave now, a mandatory investigation, West Beach, you've got to go. So make those plans right now. Get out of there as quick as you can.
And right now on the phone, Bob Pack, a storm chaser with Live Storms Media, is on the phone with us right now, monitoring conditions live in Gulfport. Good afternoon, Bob.
Good afternoon.
Hey, curious to know what things are looking like. We're going to take a look at your video right now. Have you seen an appreciable difference in the last few minutes? We're going to see if we can drop that that bar there so we can see those palm trees.
Well, actually, I have. As I drove down 90 about 30 minutes ago, I could see signage sticking up out of the water. At this point, that signage has disappeared, so I suspect the sea levels come up probably at least 1 foot at this point in time. And I just did a wind measurement 10 minutes ago. We're still only gusting to about 18 to 20 right now here, but definitely the skies are most certainly darkening out in the Gulf. You can see it coming.
Right, and this is what you do. You're a professional storm chaser, so we trust that you're going to be staying safe out there. What are your plans tonight? Where do you plan to be? Are you going to be driving around? Take us kind of behind the scenes of what you're planning for this evening.
Well, I was going to try to stay out and about while it's still safe, before darkness falls. However, I stopped and talked to law enforcement just a few minutes ago here at Gulfport. An officer told me that they were going to mandatory evacuate everybody along 90 here. He didn't tell me how far up, to the north side of 90. And also said that they were going to have businesses closed up by 9 p.m., if not earlier. And the hotel manager who I just spoke to where I'm staying did not have this information yet. As a matter of fact, she's been calling me back and forth, and we're trying to work something out to get me located somewhere else. But
all right, Bob.
For the storm.
All right, Bob, we're going to have to go now, but we want to check back in with you throughout this ordeal, and we wish you to stay safe. Of course, the Mississippi Gulf Coast still hurting from Hurricane Katrina. This is all very real to them, and I'm sure they'll be paying attention as well. All right, we're going to be back with more in just a few minutes as we give you this shot of Hurricane Nate approaching Mobile.
All right, we are continuing to track this very powerful storm that has it's expected to strengthen to a Category 2 storm. And we're already seeing mandatory evacuation orders starting to come into the newsroom that we need to let people know about.
That is so true, Andrea. There's a look at it right now. The hurricane hunters have been flying in there all morning long, and it is definitely intensified. So expected to reach Cat 2 status as it approaches the Gulf Coast. Already outer rain bands moving into southeast Louisiana, and we're going to see that begin to transition into our area later tonight. We'll be back.
Right now, Gulf Shores Mayor Robert Kraft is calling for evacuations in his city.
We are going to send it now to NBC 15's James Gordon. He is live in Gulf Shores. He has the mayor with him. What can you tell us, James?
Well, guys, this is an evacuation order issued by the mayor here in Gulf Shores. Mayor Robert Kraft joins me now. I understand that some of your officers are already on West Beach knocking on doors. Those are mainly the beach homes and condos along the beach. Am I right?
That is correct. There's beach homes in that area, and that's a place where in tidal surge they're projecting now will cover up the road, and those folks can't get out, and we can't get to them if they have a problem. And we still have a lot of people in town that are visitors, and they're not familiar with this kind of event. Our locals pretty well know the drill, but these folks don't know what they're doing. They show up on fall break, and yesterday was a pretty nice day, and nobody's wanting to leave, and so we're concerned about them being in a situation unsafe, and we can't get to them, we can't get them out. So we're issuing an evacuation order for that area, everything west of the beach, and then from east of the bridge, West Beach area west of the bridge, east of the bridge back towards Gulf Shores up to 8th Street. Those are all single family areas, and where typically overwash will hurt them.
Is there shelters, I guess, the shelter that's open now in the county is the one in Robertsdale, so if those folks need a shelter, that's where they could go.
And that's part of us being able to do this. When the county opened up that shelter, then we were able to do things we felt like we needed to do.
And it'd be in coordination, obviously. So.
Yeah, in coordination with them, and with a curfew at 8 o'clock, and we're going to end up having to close the bridge when winds get above 45 miles an hour where it's unsafe to travel over. That means everybody is here. You better be hunkered down and ready to stay here. And we're reacting to this increased intensity and more storm surge and more concern than we had yesterday.
They also understand the toll bridge in Orange Beach is going to close at 8 p.m. So then at some point, it's possible that all the bridges that lead onto the island may not be available.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. It's not possible. It's probable.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Robert Kraft. Here in Gulf Shores again, an evacuation order issued for the city of Gulf Shores, mainly for that area along West Beach, the beach homes and the condos there. For now, we're live at Gulf Shores. James Gordon, NBC 15 News.
James, thank you so much. I mean, this is a really serious situation. People need to pay attention to this storm. It's expected to strengthen and intensify to a Category 2 storm. We are expecting storm surge anywhere from 5 to 9 feet in our area. It could be a deadly situation. So people really need to pay attention to what is happening and to all of these advisories that we're putting out.
And here are our plans. We, of course, are going to have a 5 o'clock newscast coming up. But Kelly Foster will be cutting in with half an hour updates. And if something big breaks, we will immediately cut back in and update you and let you know what you need to know. So just leave the TV on or check your social media, or you can check back with our radio partners when this thing goes wall to wall later on tonight, and we will. They will be joining us, our iHeartRadio partners. So we want to let you know about that. So we're going to wrap it up here now, Andrea.
Yeah, and the National Hurricane Center issues its next advisory at 4 o'clock today, and we also want to thank our media partners, WNTM, that have been simulcasting this broadcast on their radio station. Thank you so much, and we will be checking back in with you when we have updates.